Genesis 32, verse 1. Esau comes to meet Jacob. So Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's camp," and he called the name of that place Mahanaim. Then Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, "Speak thus to my lord Esau, thus your servant Jacob says, I have dwelt with Laban and stayed there until now."
Can I have the Nintendo Switch?
I don't have it here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, the game's here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Continuing verse 5. I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, and male and female servants, and I have sent to tell my lord, that I may find favor in your sight. Then the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, We came to your brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him. So Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that were with him, and the flocks and herds and camels, into two companies. And he said, If Esau comes to the one company and attacks it, then the other company which is left will escape. Then Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, Return to your country and to your family, and I will deal well with you. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I crossed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become two companies. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and attack me and the mother with the children. For you said, I will surely treat you well, and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which cannot be outnumbered for a multitude. So he lodged there that same night, and took what came to his hand, as a present for Esau his brother, 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 foals. Then he delivered them to the hand of his servants. Every drove by itself, and said to his servants, Pass over before me, and put some distance between successive droves. And he commanded the first one, saying, When Esau my brother meets you and asks you, saying, To whom do you belong, and where are you going? Whose are these in front of you? Then you shall say, They are your servant Jacob's. It is a present sent to my lord Esau, and behold, he also is behind us. So he commanded the second and the third, and all who followed the drove, saying, In this manner you shall speak to Esau when you find him. And also say, Behold, your servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with a present that goes before me, and afterward I will see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. So the present went on over before him, but he himself lodged that night in the camp. Okay, we're going to read commentary here, verses 1 through 21. And commentary is coming from the Tony Evans Bible Commentary. Verse 1 and 2. Having come out of a crisis with Laban and about to enter another potential crisis with his brother Esau, Jacob was in need of divine help. God sent angels to meet Jacob and assure him of God's presence and protection. The battle before him, like the battle behind him, would be primarily spiritual in nature. So before addressing anything physical, God wanted to reveal to Jacob his own spiritual authority. Verse 3 through 8. Jacob sent messengers to his brother Esau in an attempt to seek Esau's favor and reestablish their broken relationship. Imagine Jacob's surprise and dread then when a messenger returned with news that Esau was coming to meet him, and he has 400 men with him. Jacob assumed reasonably so that Esau was out for vengeance. Verse 9 through 12. Jacob's fear drove him to plead with God for deliverance. His short prayer is a model for the way we should pray too. He approached God with humility, reminded God of his promise, and asked God to act in accordance with those promises. Jacob prayed, but he has also devised a plan. He took part of what he had and sent it ahead as a gift for Esau, hoping to soothe his wrath. And in case the first gift didn't do the trick, he arranged for a couple more, just to be sure. Jacob still wasn't confident that God would answer the prayer he had just prayed. Okay, we're going to continue on reading scripture. Verse 22 of Genesis 32. Wrestling with God. And he arose that night, and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed over the ford of Jabbok. He took them, sent them over the brook, and sent over what he had. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. Now when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip, and the socket of Jacob's hip was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaks. But he said, I will not let you go unless you bless me. So he said to him, What is your name? He said, Jacob. And he said, Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have struggled with God and with men, and have prevailed. Then Jacob asked, saying, Tell me your name, I pray. And he said, Why is it that you ask about my name? And he blessed him there. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. Just as he crossed over Peniel, the sun rose on him, and he limped on his hip. Therefore to this day the children of Israel do not eat the muscle that shrank, which is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip in the muscle that shrank. Let's read commentary here, verses 22 through 32. Okay, so verse 24 through 25 actually. On the night before his big confrontation with his supposedly murderous brother, Jacob was suddenly jumped by a man who wrestled with him until daybreak. An all-night wrestling match will make you weary enough, but with one touch of Jacob's hip socket, this mysterious stranger dislocated his hip. If Jacob had been unable to best Esau physically before this fight, now he couldn't even run from him. He was alone, afraid, and completely broken, just where God wanted him to be. In the middle of the night, verse 26 through 28, in the middle of the night, Jacob struck up a conversation. Bless me, he commanded, because he realized that this physical altercation was about something much bigger. The wrestler responded by asking, What is your name? Jacob responded with the identity he had for himself. I'm a trickster and a jiver, which is what the name Jacob means. But the man responded, Your name will no longer be Jacob, but it will be Israel. In other words, he said, You don't operate by schemes anymore. Now you'll be identified by the fact that you've wrestled with God. Jacob, now Israel, responded by asking for the name of the wrestler. But the man responded with a scoff. Why do you ask my name? Think about it. This man had just given Jacob the name Israel because he had struggled with God. With God, Jacob had given the name of the wrestler already. Just verses 30 to 32, just like he had done when he woke from his dream of the ladder to heaven, Jacob responded to God's presence with a shock that his life has been spared. And yet his life would never be the same, because he was now limping because of his hip. This suggests that any man God blesses will possess a limp. God will create something in that person's life that makes him despair of his own strength and lean on the Lord's instead. Jacob's limp, in fact, was so significant to his blessing that when the author of Hebrews mentioned Jacob's demonstration of faith, he mentioned Jacob's walking staff. See Hebrews 11, verse 21. It's as if out of all the colorful scenes in Jacob's life, the writer of Hebrews wanted to say, in the end, Jacob was a man who was forced to lean on God. That concludes Genesis 32. Stay tuned for Genesis 33.